Welcome to all you wisdom walkers out there. You want to be wisdom walkers, you wisdom be wisdom walkers. This is Jojopah Maria, and I'm coming to you with a very special opportunity with two men that I deeply love and admire to give you some of our insights and reaction to the Matrix Resurrection. So here is Mr. Floyd Rowell, who is the steward and leader of the Wisdom Walk program in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the Alma Center. He is my protege and a very important keeper of the Dagra medicine wheel. He's also called Urban Healer, riding on the back of a wild horse. And Floyd, thank you so much for showing up and being here to talk with us today.
Absolutely.
And then there's also Michael Damond. He is the wizard of technology and marketing, and who is just such an important support to me right now as I'm trying to navigate how to have an online presence, how to be a YouTube influencer, and to get my messages out without me having to figure out, like I did the other day, why can't I share my screen? Michael's organization is called WeMerge, and he has this wonderful platform called Bond to Build, of which I'm a part of, and will be opening up my Ensoroma Home spiritual community through. So Michael, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're on mute, Mike.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. All right, gentlemen, let's just dive into it. Mike, you said you wanted to give your reaction. Go.
Yeah. So as you know, I'm a huge Matrix fan, right? And I watched all the movies numerous times, and I went into this one totally unexpected. Didn't read anything, didn't know anything but the release date. And when I watched it at night, super late at night. Afterwards, to my surprise, I'm just like, I didn't need this. I'm like, I did not need this. I was good with where I was. So that was my initial reaction. So I'm like, okay, I got this on HBO Max. Let me watch this again. Go through it, because I could have been tired and all this other stuff. And you know what I realized after watching it the second time, getting more of the messages from it, was that the first time you saw The Matrix, it was mind-blowing in so many ways. So it was like unlike any movie that I had ever seen before. So like it was more than just, ooh, this was a good movie. This was a good story. It just introduced all these new concepts to me that I had never even fathomed, never thought about. So I think like that can only happen once. You know what I mean? That, like you can only have that kind of response once. So then I'm like, okay, you should not have that, think that you're going to be having that same feeling that you had when you first saw The Matrix. So that was kind of like my step back moment of like, let me come into this with a different eyes, different mind, and continue, let the story continue, because that's what the story was doing. It was continuing. But I think I had unconsciously, I had like this thing to want to relive that time when I first saw The Matrix, when everything was new to me. That was my initial experience.
So did you watch it again?
I did watch it again, yes. And I got more out of it this time, just kind of following the story, letting the story unfold. Because I didn't know it was going to be continuation. Honestly, I didn't.
Right.
Because I didn't want to read anything or know anything about it.
Right. You were just like, oh.
Yeah, so I'm just like, let's see what they come back with.
All right. So Floyd, what was your initial reaction?
I'm gonna tell you, I would have been so stuck if you didn't call me and let me know about that one thing to look for. The message that was said.
Deus ex machina.
Yes. And when I looked it up, I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, they got me at a point. I don't know what the heck is happening right now. And there's no way of getting out of this. Then the big twist hits in there. And it really had me like in the beginning too, when it came on, it was repeating the old scenes, but with different agents now and stuff like that. And I'm looking at this like, wait a minute, what's going on here? That's not Trinity. What's happening? And stuff. And so just repeating the old, as it started to build. And then I caught on to, okay, it's the whole thing about remembering and believing, And so when even the part towards the end, when he actually now started stopping the bullets again. and not running from him no more. I was like, he's starting to believe again, though. So remind me of the first one. What's happening right now? Why he's not running up the stairs? He's starting to believe, So when he first fought Smith, and he stopped running and stuff. So I'm like, okay, now we building back on starting to believe again. And once he was garping down those blue pills, I knew right then and there, like, oh, yep, they got him. He's still caught up in the loop. They still got him in there. So the first initial reaction after it was done, I was in my Macaulay Culkin's Home Alone stage. Like, what the heck just happened up here, right? And so, I'm like, oh my God, okay, we got to get it in. We gotta hunker down and figure this one out. And then to the naysayers out there and everything, Jojopah, I like to think of it like this. Remember when The Matrix first came out, right? When people was like, you had to watch it 3 times to understand what's going on with the movie, and there was a lot of naysayers there. That was crazy. That movie don't make any sense. And now look what it did. 2 movies. Yeah. So I would like to see the magic that been placed in this one, and to see how that grow and emerge from it.
I love it. So yeah, my initial reaction, definitely, I did go into it really cold, really blind. I watched a couple of the trailers, looked at a couple of the posters, saw the piece about with him being with the psychiatrist. I'm like, okay, so he's back in the Matrix. But that's all I went in with. And, again, I am a movie buff, and I was a literature major in college, and I'm just an avid continuous learner about things that are really, I think, important in regards to science and philosophy and this and that. And so I know that Lana Wachowski is definitely up on stuff. So I did go in saying, okay, it's been 20 years. There's a lot more that we've uncovered in that time. Let's see what she's gonna bring, And so within the first 10 minutes, I was screaming, because the line is when the new Smith wakes up to who he is in the key shop, which is really significant, and says, I am Morpheus. I screamed, and so and then I'm in it, I'm on the ride, I'm in it. And I know in cinema that you're going to use your camera. If you're a really good filmmaker, you're going to be using your camera, because film is visual. It's not really about words. It's a visual experience. That's what real cinema is. And Lana gets that. So I'm looking at, okay, where's the camera going and what does it keep showing? So when it showed the Deus Ex Machina, and there's a lot of stuff in there. I'm sorry, folks, you got to go Google it or get out your dictionary, it's work, because Lana ain't playing with the story. The people all involved in it not playing. So it's a very highly intelligent, there's a lot of esoteric stuff in it. And if you're not going to take the time to open up to learn, no, this movie isn't going to work for you. You will be disappointed. You won't understand what's going on. So Deus Ex Machina is really important because it's an old technique that comes from Greek theater. So just that right there, to know that, oh my God, she is putting in a foundational form of the storytelling. Like she going back to the Greek stuff, and all this stuff goes back to Africa. So this always makes me happy when people are pulling in the ancient wisdom. And so right there, I knew, okay, we in for a ride, So then I'm watching everything from that perspective of the story, because basic storytelling is always in 3 parts. You have a beginning, you have a middle, you have your, kind of crisis come together point, and then you're going to have your resolution, you're going to have your end. So I watch for how, creative is the filmmaker with doing that form and using that form, because that form is essential when you're trying to help people really receive something beyond what they came into the theater with. And to me, masterful what she did. So that's my first reaction. Like, I was very, very pleased to get that. Okay, here we go. We're really being downloaded with some more information, ideas, and things from somebody who has really pulled in a lot of stuff for us to dissect. So, yeah. So let's do some dissecting. My next question for you all is, okay, what scene really jumps out at you?
I have to go through a review.
I have so many, so.
But I got so many too. So one big one that just popped up in my head when you said that, Jojopah. Oh my gosh, because they so know all, they got it. They're smarter than humans, even though humans created them. It is the machines. And the machines had a war against each other. What? Terminator, like stuff like they went at it against each other. That one right there blew me.
That's deep.
So different beliefs in between the machines. So that right there really blew me. Like, wow, seeing them actually at war with each other. And the ones that agreed with the humans and started going, with them. And so it's actually just that right there. The technology, but then all of a sudden, all their technology is starting to bump heads with what's going on here and what happened. And so they actually went at it with each other, not just at humans, but with each other too.
One of the things that was recurring, and I was kind of follow along from the filmmaker's perspective as well, Jojopah, thinking about the camera angles. And I had noticed early on, I'm like, why do they keep pausing at these moments to show these reflections? What am I not seeing? Like, there's something going on in this moment that they don't want to make obvious, but I know that there's something there. And it took me a few of those times to notice the reflections of how they aged, which got me to thinking about, oh, okay. So we're at a much later point than I thought. Here I am taking it for what it is, face value, which is what's being shown to us, the primary image of what's being shown. But really, we were much, much later on, 60 years, I think they said it was.
60 years.
Yeah, 60 years.
So, those moments kind of got me to thinking like, okay, I really need to pay attention here because there's a lot of little stuff going on.
Ooh, I got another one. Go ahead, Jojopah. I got another one.
Go, because it's right there. Go.
Okay, it popped up. 60 years later, like you said, right? Mm-hmm. And, remember in the first Matrix, right? In that time in frame, that was dial up, right? So operator,
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I'm getting you a warehouse. You're coming close.
You're right.
And so now it's Wi-Fi. And
That's
so
right.
they're actually jumping through windows and stuff like that.
And mirrors, yeah.
And mirrors, and, and they actually now using Wi-Fi, just download and pop right in and stuff like that. They're not going through the phones anymore. Mm-hmm. You have to be a phone line ring. So I was like, wow, yeah, that makes sense now that it's actual Wi-Fi.
The other thing that's
implemented that new age into it,
Yeah.
So,
I think that they also kind of introduced us to the augmented reality because you notice how the operator was there as if he was there with them.
Yes, it became a virtual.
Like,
that was so dope.
Virtual, yeah.
That was so dope, man. I loved it.
That threw me at first.
Yeah, right. At first, when you see it, like, was he there?
Like, you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Oh, that was so cool. Yeah. Like, what is going on? Like, that's the question. Like, what is going on? And I could see them, in creating this, doing that as an exercise. Okay, how do we keep the audience asking what's going on?
And I was. I'm just like, hold up.
Oh yeah. I was staying looking for the word. Just where the word is, because I don't know what's happening right here. Jojopah said it's a word.
The scene for me that, and it's really the segment that it's just really hang with me in terms of, this messaging, but also to where this movie is taking us. And it is after Neo does take the red pill, and they get him out of the pod again. He's back into the real world. And at one point in conversation, he says, I don't know. I don't know even how to know. And it's like, whoa, whoa, it's that, to me over the last 2 years with COVID and now Omicron, this plague that we're experiencing, that's what it's done. It's taken us into a whole new reality. And so I don't know, and I don't even know how to know. Like I'm at ground zero.
It's like a surrender.
It's a surrender.
It is,
And
yes.
when you think of resurrection, and the Christ theme in Matrix has always been there. In fact, originally the Neo role was going to be a Black man, and Will Smith turned it down. And then the universe worked it so it became Keanu, and then Lawrence Fishburne as Morpheus. So, but that Christ theme has always been there. And so when you hear resurrection, that's definitely a theme, a Christian theme. And so that became another question in the movie. What does it mean to resurrect? And so being in a whole new reality, and that I don't know, holding on to that I don't know. Yeah. And I want to say this too, it's like the action sequences and stuff, they're great. It's good. I love CG. It's a kind of violence where I'm not attached to, somebody being thrown out of a train window, because I'm like, oh, great CG. Wow, that looked real. That really looked real. Like that person got sucked out, thrown out. But there was more of an emphasis for me on what are they saying? Why are they saying it? How are they saying it? What is this related to? What are the symbols here that are being used to tell this story? And what is it? And what do we need to get out of this?
Right.
So that's my next question. So what messages are popping up for you, or things that are popping up for you? What did you see in it? What did you hear in it?
Yeah, it brought me back to a conversation I've been having with some people here. Just prior to this, we've been talking about power, and we've been talking about money, and we've been talking about like the things that people do to put themselves in a position to receive those things.
Yes.
And how like it's such a disturbing feeling. I was talking to his name's Rasan, and he was sharing a quote from a book, and it's like the thing about power, about that you have to bend down to pick it up. And I was just like, that right there is that thing. And it's like, it kind of takes me back to a conversation we had, Jojopah, about finding that balance between like wanting to make sure that your needs are met, but then also then operating from a point of like greed and trying not to get caught up in that.
Matrix.
So I thought, yeah, basically that's what it is. So, that came back to mind when I thought about how just all the decisions that they had to make, knowing what they knew before, and now being put into a position where they have new choices to make.
Yes.
What choices are they going to make? So that kind of stuck out to me to think about that. And then also, if you were to rebuild the Matrix, how would you rebuild it? What would you change? Because they're kind of alluded to having that opportunity between the two of them to kind of rebuild it in their own way.
Exactly, which is so cool. Yeah.
I know the steak isn't real. And I know once I bite it, it's the Matrix just telling me it's juicy and delicious. I go back to Smith with the steak, right? And Latrell watched it, and then he was like, "I'm so confused, Dad. I'm confused," And then
because we see Neo, right, doing the steak and being at the cafe and all that stuff. Yeah.
And then he go and watch a review on YouTube about it, and even got more confused. He said, "Now I don't know what's going on." And so I'm thinking of that scene with the steak, and then I'm looking at them in the new place name. Look at this, strawberries. We couldn't do this in Zion. No, that stuff tastes like rusted metal and stuff that we was eating that slop. But look what we got now. We got strawberries,
and what they gave up in order to have them strawberries, right?
To get to have those strawberries, right? And it reminded me, another movie, but I'm sorry, it reminded me of the Harriet Tubman movie.
Yes, yes.
And she got there, and yeah, now she's free, and she's seeing them, they acting all, this type of way and stuff, and she's like, no, you got too comfortable and stuff, and she went back, like, no, we got to continue the mission of saving souls, waking people up, getting them out the matrix, so that really got to me that, no, we rather grow strawberries. So good. Don't taste like no rusted metal. Look what we got now, strawberries. And we safe in here. Just be safe and eat our strawberries.
Yeah.
So they took replaced with saving souls with growing strawberries.
Yes. Yes.
So that really stuck out to me when I told Latrell about that. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense there. So he caught on to it. Ignorance is bliss, right? Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
I feel like we're faced with that scenario so much in life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the setup, right? That's what you do. You sedate people. I remember after 9/11, the then President Bush's message to the country was, go shopping. He said, go shopping. So, go sedate yourselves. Don't take this on. Don't feel, right? Don't let yourself feel, go shopping. And so, that's how we've been operating. And that whole scene is so important about how, we believe we have to give over our power in order to keep the peace. And so the Jada Pinkett, character is very, very essential in showing us what fear will do, what fear will do to you. Because, the distortion stuff they're doing cinematically too, she's very distorted. It's not just that she's aged, but there's a distortion in her face. You look at, is that Jada? I'm looking, is that, oh, that makeup good, because I can't, where's her eyes? I'm trying to find her eyes. Yeah. But it was this distortion, because that's what happened. She got distorted and her heart is shut down and she's disconnected, from her soul. They renamed the place Io. And Io is one of the moons of Jupiter where there can be no life. Okay, that's deep. That's deep because they found some moons like around Saturn. I think it's off of Saturn or something that would they have found some conditions for life. But Io,
Saturn.
No, ain't nothing happening there. So that was named on purpose to say, we're alive. We've got this kind of fake sky, virtual sky now and all of this, but, it's not alive. It's not alive. It's not happening. I think another really huge theme in this, besides, I think the story is trying to help us look at ourselves. Since 1999, since 2000, here we are 20 some years later.
Can't believe that.
What is our relationship to the Matrix now? And how did this happen? So it's interesting that they use the architect is in the role of a psychiatrist, right? Somebody that's supposed to know I know humans, like you said, Floyd. He's like, I've mastered humans. No, you ain't. You ain't got no soul. You have no understanding what humanity is about. So that's a really powerful message there. And that how we will forget what our humanity is about, how we will let that go out of fear and thinking that we have to stay safe at all costs. The other big message that Lana is bringing is interesting because Lana is a trans person. So the message about the power of the feminine, the divine feminine, and the scene at the end when it's Trinity that's holding Neo up, and on the YouTube students, I ask, is she the one? Is she the one? Is she the one? And it's not about that. It's about, everybody can be the one. That's the other message in it. Everybody can be the one. What does it require? It requires your belief system. And so that's a piece in the movie I love, the message about, you have to be willing to believe. And that's another cool line that happens when Bugs, who's like Bugs Bunny, the trickster, she says to Neo, you know, about freeing up Trinity, like, you know, what if she doesn't want to come? What if she not? And his response is, you know, I didn't believe I was the one, but she always did. And so now it's time for me to believe in her. Powerful, powerful message.
Yeah.
Powerful message. Yeah, it's like, so that whole thing about the feminine and what that really means beyond just a physical, you know, to me, the story is really getting into the power of the yin and the yang. And so that whole thing of them with the hands, that's from the Sistine Chapel of Michelangelo, you know, when he has the picture of God and Adam touching, and the power of that. And so that's a replication of the power of the yin and the yang, and how important that is for that to be alive on the planet today. And again, not in the old paradigm way, you know, but in this very cosmic, universal way that things are created from these two energies.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it made me think
and that you
about.
have to have them in balance. You know, and that, so huge message about that. And really interesting for a trans person, of course, would bring it because they're two-spirited people. They got keys to all the gates, right? So of course they would bring this message. So it would be somebody who came into the earth as a male, now identifies and presents himself as a female, has this understanding of the balancing, and can give out that message in a film in this way so powerfully. Yeah. And of course people are upset about it.
Of course.
Of course they're upset about it. Of course they're upset about it. Yeah. And one thing too, this was so cool. So little Neil Patrick, you know, at the end when he is denigrating Trinity, and he says to Neo, can't you control her? And I love that because that's a throwback to that old paradigm, right? About the patriarchy and men being in charge. She has to be controlled, you know, that's your job. Keep her in her place, you know. And so he gets bitch slapped, you know, because ain't having it, you know. So that's a really, really powerful message. Really powerful message in there. Yeah.
We're talking about that conversation about the one, because remember when Neo went and spoke to, this was, I think it's the first one, and he went to speak to the Oracle, and he came back to Trinity, and he's like, oh, you know, like, she says I'm not the one. And then, you know, Trinity also felt like, I once thought I might have been the one, that found out I wasn't the one. But when I thought about, you know, the final scene when she's holding his hand, how it took the two of them to come together to create the one. You know, and that ties into that whole, when you talked about the masculine and the feminine energy becoming one. So I also thought about the yin and the yang combining, and it's like, they both were the one, but it took them being together. You know, and that's why they were so powerful, because, and you know, they knew they were powerful because even machines put their pods next to each other. Because it was like, if we keep them in close proximity, we can harness their power just right. Yeah, they knew that distance mattered. Exactly. They was like, if it was too far, it was gonna be it. But if it was just like, they knew it had to be just right.
Just close enough.
Yeah.
That's that other message, right, too, about fear and desire and fear, and them using that to control the humans. And that's another huge message, because think about it, that's how our, especially Western culture, is operating, right? It's always about being desirous of something, but the fear that I can't have it, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it. That's Latrell's picture. That's his son, Latrell. Look just like him. A little shaman in the making.
Okay, I was trying to take the notification off. Okay.
And, you know, when you think about that, like, how am I being jerked around by what I'm desiring, but don't feel I can have? And so this comes into that whole notion about, from indigenous wisdom, about being here on purpose. And when you don't understand that, when you don't connect to that, you're just going to be pulled around by whatever is presented to you. Use this and you're going to be wonderful and rich and powerful and famous, you know, and
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Yeah.
I have a question.
Please.
As far as like, were there any, like, I was very disturbed by the swarms.
Woo!
The swarming.
Man,
And I'm like, I
come
don't
on
know
now.
if, did y'all feel that? Like, what
World
was,
War Z, baby.
Man,
World War
listen.
I
Z.
was
Zombie.
totally disturbed by
Zombie
that.
Big closet to
apocalypse.
hide in.
Zombie apocalypse.
These things. What?
What's the message there?
Huge, huge message.
Huge. Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
20 years ago, they had to use the machines to insert themselves into a human to become the
take over.
agent. Now, all they had to do was turn on the switch, and you see that matrix thing code in their eyes, and all of a sudden it was a swarm, baby. Yeah, that's deep. That is really deep. And I think it's a very, very powerful statement about the reality of what's been happening with totalitarian, leaders and governments. So here in the United States with the Trump era, and Brazil and Korea and North Korea and on and on and on, right? There's these places in Africa. And so that as humanity, what's happened for people, desire and fear so massaged in our psyche that it's very easy for somebody to come and just feed that fear. And then we go into where Jada's at, right? Yeah, let's shut it down and mind my business, just eat my strawberry. And
Strawberries.
Yeah. Really interesting.
Yeah, that part was something.
Yeah, because I know people that I've thought, were not in the Matrix because they talk a great game about spirituality and things, but during those last 4 years, it was very interesting to see. So that's about too how we as humans are so susceptible to it. And I think that's a thing too with Neo. So they kind of, fix him up, so that his body can be reinserted back into the pod. I'd like to know all the science behind that. That's really interesting. But we've seen in the Marvel movies the recreation of tissue in Age of Ultron, so we know it's possible, right? But they then are just able to manipulate his brain thoughts and his brain patterns, give him that blue pill, which you're not really taking in, right? But it becomes, in terms of the coding in your mind, that's something deep to think about. Like, it's not real, but because I'm going through this movement, even though it's virtual, it has an impact on my mind because it shuts him down to remembering the truth of who he is, right? He turns into, what so many people are dealing with right now is depression and anxiety. And he can't trust himself. He can't trust his own experiences, his own memories. Yeah, it's really powerful.
Yeah. And that swarm, going back to that swarm, oh my God. And it's like you can kind of feel it coming, right? It's like it's kind of like you kind of feel it, like here they come, and they hit the switch, then they started doing it, like, oh, here it is.
When they jumped out of the windows,
jumping, jumping out of the window.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I was thinking they're gonna catch some flack for that.
And it's very interesting with with everything that's been going on now too, as you said, over the past 4 years too. Like they don't have to look like agents no more.
No.
Like you can think it's a person that's released and been freed, and they're walking right up to you, but they are the agents.
Right.
They have it inside of them.
Right. Exactly.
So, they don't have to look like it no more. They can be looking just plain like you, and
Storming the Capitol. Oh, did I say that? Yeah.
That's the swarm mode.
There it is. There it is.
Swarm mode right there.
That's deep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, to me, the film is really making a social commentary and psychological commentary on, where humanity is right now, the battle that is going on, because that's the age of Aquarius has presented us with Are you going to take the red pill? Or you can take the blue pill. You know? Are you going to stay stuck in these old paradigms and belief systems? Or are you ready to be in, I don't know, and I don't even know how to know?
Right.
Because if I believe the stuff, everything that I read or everything that's in the online, you know, everything that's in TikTok, I'm in trouble. So
Yep.
it brings the question of how can you trust? How can you learn? How can you know? And I think it's making a really, really huge statement about we need to be connected to our hearts and souls. And that's what Neo and Trinity represent. It's that love, the power
Yeah.
of love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is the most powerful force in the universe. It's something that the machines can't control.
Right.
And they don't really understand it. They accept that it's there, right? We'll keep it close, but they really didn't get the power of that, because Neo was just like, I got free her. I don't know how to do it. I love that scene too, where they are around talking about, okay, we just are one shot. We got these nice machines here that helped us out, Neo, but they exiled now and we can't figure it out. And the chick says, now, in other words, yeah, like open up to learning, you know. And Neo's like, yeah, because I got to free her. I know what I have to do. This is what I got to do.
That was his purpose.
Clear, exactly. And against the unimaginable, the impossible, you know. And that's where Deus ex machina comes in, you know, because the meaning behind that is it's a plot device where you bring something that's able to resolve this impossible thing, impossible task. Yeah. And the Deus ex machina, you know, because back in the day it would have been a machine that actually would lift the character up and take him out of the battle or out of the situation, right? In the Greek theater, right? So that it was a machine. And so it's interesting that they use Mr. Smith as that. That's his job. The last person you would think would come to the aid of Neo.
Right.
Yeah. There's a big message in that. There's a big message in that. There's a big message in that. Yeah. Yeah. So, gentlemen, anything else that we want to share before we sign off? Message to somebody who hasn't seen it yet, maybe, or who saw it and said, oh, I don't like it, or any message that we want to give out?
I think
you know what, Jojopah? I was wishing the Oracle was on there.
That would have been nice, yeah.
I was looking when he said I have to go see her. You know, I thought, oh, he's talking about the Oracle. You know, because like he said before, but it was actually to go see, you know, Trinity in that role that she was in with the family and stuff. But I was really, really wishing like the Oracle would have been on there.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna put Morpheus on there as just Ghost in the Machine thing. We can definitely put the Oracle back here. You know?
Well, she kind of was there because they make reference to her all the time, like Bugs. When they say, yeah, you sound like, that's something the Oracle was saying. She said, yeah, because I've really studied, you know, I really have studied her. So it was like that. Again, we have to graduate into not needing, you know, these physical leaders and teachers to be around. You know, me, I just lost my teacher, Melodama Somé. And so, yeah, you're heartbroken. Desmond Tutu just died today. Just learned about that. I was crying about that this morning. You know, and so, yes, we want them to be present, we want to be here. But what to me, the message is right now, as we move into a fifth dimensional experience of who we are as humans, you have to understand that you have that inside of you because you've connected with them. So they are, as long as you're alive, they're still living. So go teach, go share, go bring that message out so other people can also embody them as well. But that's the message, is that, you know, like that swarm that is destructive, well, we have a swarm that is generative. And that is about love and creativity. And we need to not just get stuck in, it's only the one, it's only this person. This is about, no. Spread the love. Yeah. Spread the love.
You just made me realize in that moment how it's like they served their purpose and they passed it on to us. And now it's our time to do our part.
We at bat.
Yeah.
And we scared to death because we don't know, and we don't know how to know, but we got to be like Neo. I got to do this. I got to free those minds.
Yeah, because we're kind of hiding under their umbrella, like, oh,
it's dry under here. Blue pills.
I got to bring up one more thing that we didn't
Please,
touch.
please.
The Merovingian,
Ah, yes, yes.
the Frenchman. He
Come
was not
on,
all,
we
he
had
wasn't
conversation. We had class.
yeah.
Take all that away from us. What's wrong with you?
What was that about?
Oh my God. Oh my
Frenchman was
God.
going in. Shoot.
Okay, some more esoteric,
He was a
trivia
hot mess.
stuff that's important to know
He was more
about,
mad than anything. He was mad than anybody.
Again,
He was yelling through the whole fight.
oh my God, I love it, love it. So you have to do your research and find out the Mayor da Vinci comes from French history back in the day when you had these little fiefdoms or kingdoms, which is how the regions in Europe were ruled before, like Germany was just at battle with each other, and then they got united, and that happened all over Europe. But first you had these warring families and different little castles and stuff, right? People fighting for deer and meat and water and all that kind of crap. Same thing going on today, right? So anyway, but he comes back from that, and so the history of that particular family. So he represents, right, this very feudalistic, patronistic energy. And he's also rogue to he's like a virus, also like Smith was. He's kind of viral, but he, can get in and out and do things. The rogue system. And so it's interesting because it's like to see him in rags.
Yeah, I know, right? Not fine silks and all that.
Was definitely a message, right, about the collapse of the feudal patriarchal system and every institution that has been plugged into that. That was a huge, huge message.
The rise and fall of
You know what he made me think about?
fall.
At least in our United States, he made me think of like that middle class. Like I kind of saw him as a representation of what it could be like if that segment of the class loses that what's viewed as an advantage point, as opposed to who's beneath and who's above. It's just kind of like it made me think about that in society, like him kind of representing that part of our society, because that's a fragile place to be.
Well, it's not just the middle class, it's whatever class has believed that their way of doing and being was it. Right? Like if you don't follow me, then you're disposable. There's something wrong with you, So middle, kittle, whittle, whatever class, but it's all that belief system that there's, this is what's best and that's why he's saying we had class, we had this, we had that, and like, yeah, but look at you now. What happened?
Look at him in the rags. He yelled through the whole fight. The whole fight he was just yelling at Neil.
Yeah.
You notice he wasn't getting involved though. Looking for
yeah,
a way to sneak in.
He never was. He would always disappear, right?
He was an instigator.
He's always disappearing. Oh yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one, Mike. Yeah, to think about that because the Great Resignation. I just heard this guy that wrote the book called Apollo's Arrow, where he calls what we're going through a plague because he's a sociologist, he studied plagues. And so he has validated for me what I got from my spirit guides that it's going to be into 2024, this kind of restriction and, we'll get a little downtime, then it'll go back. It's going to take that long for it to become what they call endemic. And then he says after that, after we really accept it, like polio and AIDS and, Spanish flu, which is what the flu that shows up every season, then we'll be able to, go to this next step, which is, that we have to repair because we have to understand it right now. So much is being dismantled. It may not be like in a physical way, except for what's going on with climate change, but all our structures and stuff are being dismantled, torn apart. And so there's going to be this time when we're going to have to really take on a rebuilding, a recreating, and we'll have this opportunity to do stuff in a way that, can better serve us. So, yeah.
I was disillusioned thinking that, once the viruses come, I thought we were already in the rebuilding until I heard him say that timeline and talk about that. And I'm just like, like there's still more to fall. I knew there was still more to fall, but for some reason I was thinking that because we have these vaccines, now we're not.
Right.
Like that's just
Right,
the honest
right.
truth
Right.
about them.
Mhm. Yeah. And I want a message I'm going to give to who's ever watching this that didn't see it or saw it once or doesn't like it. Give it a chance, because here's the thing: we're living in a time now where we really do have to exercise our ability as humans to learn. And so when something like this shows up in cinema that is having you say, what's going on? I don't understand this, I was watching it with another friend and we only got halfway through because it was late. But also this person was just like, this is really complex. I don't understand what's going on. I said, I understand. You need to take a break. Got to rest. Let your mind rest. And you come back to it. But keep coming back to it and get out the Google. Get out your, back in my day it was an encyclopedia, right? Do the Wikipedia. And if you're seeing them flash something on the screen a couple of times, or the camera's on something, and you're like, why are they looking at that? Do some investigation.
Yeah.
The writers of this, Lana Wachowski and others involved in it, they're very learned in new ideas, new thought, new information, and they've had time to really, from their own life experiences, really look at what's going on in our society, in the world, in humanity, and say, yeah, we want to give out some messages. So know that and take that on. You don't have to agree with everything that they're bringing up, but at least let yourself take some time to say, okay, what is the message behind a therapist wanting someone to stay sedated to what they are experiencing? What does that mean? What does that mean for me? Is that me? That's the other thing to think about. When am I that therapist to myself, keeping myself sedated, keeping myself taking the blue pill? Why is it hard for me to take the red pill? Why don't I want to see my true reality? What is that about? So to me, this film is part of my library for wisdom walking, for helping people free their minds and really understand that we are here for a purpose, a big purpose. And we don't have to subject ourselves to depression and anxiety as a normal state, that we really can get to our joy, our happiness, our love, and love in all forms, to be loving to your neighbors, to be loving to yourself, of course, that's number one. But to not sit up and be in this doomsday belief system. No, to me, we're being given an opportunity by the universe to really, go beyond the limitations of what our former belief systems, like the Mayor da Vinci, what those former belief systems taught us. And let's start going into opening up our minds, freeing our minds, and learning more of what it is that we can do and be here on this planet, and not feel like it's got to go to hell in the handbasket. Yeah.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say put them strawberries down and start saving souls.
There you go. There you go. There you go. And your own first, right?
Come on now.
What strawberries are you eating today?
That's what this message is about. This is about me getting my soul right so I can continue on.
So we hope our initial review of The Matrix, the gentleman, I hope you'll come back. I'll invite you back after you watch it a few more times.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll get Queen Noor in to give us her insights as well. And and just keep playing with this. I'm so happy to be going into 2022 with this level of cinema there for us to use and to learn from and to grow through. Because to me, 2022 is a time for us to take in all of what we have learned so far and to put it to good use. Yeah.
Love it.
So Floyd, thank you so much for being here. Michael Damond, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And I'll be talking with you both again, and with you, audience, again very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Be well, be safe. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe.